This is the story of love twisted into a deadly hunger, and the man who would risk it all to escape it. In the heart of the vast South African bushveld, where the rustling grasses whispered secrets to the wind, there lived a mysterious creature, half woman, half serpent. Her longing had grown unbearable, a relentless hunger not for food, but for the touch of a man. For months, she had hidden in the shadows, her golden scales glinting under the moonlight, her piercing eyes watching travelers from afar. But the ache within her was too great to bear, and so she decided to act. One warm evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues, she slithered onto a dusty road connecting the nearby village of Giemajaji to the bustling town of Zanin. The road was alive with the sounds of motorbikes and the occasional bakkie, pickup truck, rumbling by. There, beneath the weight of twilight, the serpent shed her scales and transformed into a stunning woman, a vision of allure. She appeared as a radiant 28-year-old with smooth brown skin, thick braided hair adorned with beads, and a form-fitting shweshwe dress that clung to her curves. Her eyes sparkled like a river in sunlight, but behind their charm lay an ancient and dangerous intent. Please, if you enjoy tales like this, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more captivating stories. Hope you've done? Okay, let's continue. She stood by the roadside, her hips swaying subtly, her gaze fixed on the passing vehicles. Hours passed, and finally, a young man on a motorbike slowed down. "Evening, Cece," the man greeted, his accent thick with the rhythm of sepeti. "Need a ride?" She smiled, her lips curving seductively. "Yes, please." "You are kind." The man, whose name was Thabo, couldn't help but notice her beauty. Her dress, her demeanor, it all enchanted him. As she climbed onto the back of his bike, her arms wrapped around his waist, sending a jolt of warmth through him. The ride began, but she leaned in close, her breath warm against his ear, whispering sweet nothings in a husky voice. At one point, she planted a gentle kiss on his cheek, and Thabo's heart raced. "Where are you heading?" he managed to ask, his voice faltering. "To the village," she replied, her words cryptic yet mesmerizing. Halfway through the journey, she clutched her stomach, wincing in apparent pain. Thabo," she whimpered. "I can't. I don't feel well." Concerned, Thabo pulled over. "Are you okay, Cece? What's wrong?" She leaned against him, her eyes wide with feigned vulnerability. "Do you live alone?" Thabo hesitated, then nodded. "Yes." "Take me to your home," she pleaded. "I'll be fine there." Though apprehensive, Thabo couldn't resist the opportunity to help, and perhaps to spend more time with this enchanting woman. He brought her to his modest home on the edge of the village, a small rondavel with a thatched roof. Inside, he fussed over her, preparing a simple dinner of pap and stew while she lounged on his couch. As the night deepened, her demeanor changed. Her gaze grew hungrier, more intense. She stood, moving toward him with a sensual grace that made his knees weak. When she leaned in for a kiss, Thabo felt as though he was drowning in her allure. But just as he surrendered to the moment, the unthinkable happened. Her body began to convulse, her skin shimmering unnaturally. Before his very eyes, she transformed. Her legs fused, elongating and morphing into the muscular, scaly tail of a giant serpent. Her arms became sleek and sinuous, her face twisting into a terrifying amalgamation of human and snake. Her mouth opened, revealing fangs dripping with venom. Thabo stumbled back, his heart pounding. What are you?" she hissed, her voice a chilling echo. "I am both woman and serpent, cursed by the ancestors for my insatiable desires. But you, Thabo, are the one I choose to quench my hunger." Fear gripped him, but instinct took over. Grabbing a nearby broom, he swung it at her, distracting her long enough to dart out of the house. He ran as fast as his legs could carry him, his breath ragged, his mind racing. Behind him, the serpent-woman slithered out of the rondavel, her massive form illuminated by the moonlight. But she did not give chase. Instead, her haunting laughter echoed into the night. Thabo reached the village square, gasping for air, and told the elders of his encounter. The wise men and women listened intently, their faces grave. "She is a tokolosh of sorts," one elder said, "a spirit of desire and vengeance. You must cleanse yourself with the herbs of the river and pray for protection." Thabo spent days haunted by the encounter. He followed the elders' advice, bathing in the herbal waters of the Limpopo River and praying with fervor, but sleep eluded him. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her, a vision of beauty twisting into a nightmare of scales and venom. Word spread quickly in the village about Thabo's escape. Some dismissed it as the ramblings of a man who had drunk too much umkombothi, traditional beer, but others believed his tale. Stories of a snake woman lurking in the bush were not new. Some villagers whispered about cattle disappearing near the river or travelers who never returned from the roads. One evening, as Thabo sat by the fire with his neighbor Sifo, a local healer named Gogo Nomvula visited him. She was a wise old woman who had helped many in the village with ailments and spiritual troubles. "You are marked, Thabo," she said, her voice deep and melodic. "The serpent-woman has chosen you. She will not stop until she gets what she wants." Thabo shivered. "What does she want from me, Gogo?" "Why me?" Gogo Nomvula threw a mixture of herbs into the fire, and thick, fragrant smoke rose, swirling in strange patterns. She stared into the flames, her eyes narrowing. "She is cursed," Gogo explained. "Once a young woman like any other, she betrayed the sacred laws of love and life. She fell in love with a man already promised to another and used forbidden magic to try and win him. The ancestors punished her, transforming her into what you saw. Her hunger for love turned to an insatiable desire to consume. Now, she roams the land, seeking men to satisfy her emptiness, but she destroys all she touches." Thabo's hands trembled. "How do I stop her?" "You must confront her," Gogo said, her gaze piercing. "But you cannot do it alone. We will prepare a trap, and you must be brave. She feeds on fear and lust. To defeat her, you must show neither." The next morning, Gogo Nomvula gathered a group of elders and trusted villagers. Together, they devised a plan. They would lure the serpent-woman to the sacred baobab tree on the outskirts of the village, a place of great spiritual power. There, they would bind her with enchanted ropes and perform a ritual to banish her spirit forever. Thabo was reluctant, but knew he had no choice. "If I don't face her, she will haunt me forever," he said, his voice resolute. As night fell, the villagers prepared the trap. They scattered herbs around the baobab tree and drew symbols in the dirt to call upon the ancestors' protection. Thabo stood at the center, his heart pounding, holding a small talisman Gogo had given him. It wasn't long before a familiar sound reached his ears, the soft hiss of scales on earth. Then she appeared, emerging from the shadows. She had taken her human form again, her beauty as dazzling as ever. Her shweshwe dress shimmered in the moonlight, and her eyes locked onto Thabo. "You've come back to me," she said, her voice dripping with honey. "You cannot resist me." Thabo clenched the talisman tightly, reminding himself of Gogo's words. "I am not afraid of you," he said, though his voice wavered. She approached him slowly, swaying like a cobra ready to strike. "Oh, Thabo," she cooed, "I don't want to harm you. I want to love you. Come with me, and I will make you happy." He stood his ground, his pulse racing. "You lie. You are cursed, and I will not be your victim." Her face darkened, and in an instant, she transformed again. Her serpent body rose high above him, her fangs bared, her hiss like thunder. She lunged, but just as she struck, the enchanted ropes hidden in the earth sprang to life, coiling around her massive form. She thrashed and screamed, her voice echoing into the night. The villagers emerged from their hiding places, chanting prayers and shaking calabashes filled with protective herbs. Gogo Nomvula led the ritual, her voice powerful and commanding. "You have tormented this land for too long," Gogo declared. "By the power of the ancestors, we banish you." The serpent woman writhed and shrieked, her form flickering between human and snake. A great wind swept through the baobab tree, and with one final, ear-piercing cry, she dissolved into a cloud of ash that scattered into the night. The villagers stood in stunned silence. Thabo fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. "It is done," Gogo said softly. "The curse is lifted." From that day forward, the village knew peace. Thabo was hailed as a hero, though he remained humble, grateful to have survived. He spent his days helping others and learning from Gogo Nomvula, determined to protect his community from future dangers. As for the serpent-woman, her tale became a warning passed down through generations, a story of desire, betrayal, and the power of courage in the face of fear. Let me know your own thought in the comment below, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories like this. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.